Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. The new iPhone X just came out, I think, last week. There's a huge line outside the Apple Store that I passed by on my way to work. If you bought it, and if you're like the typical owner, you'll be using that iPhone nearly 80 times every single day, which means that you'll be consulting that glossy little rectangle nearly 30,000 times in the upcoming year. Your new phone, like the old, will serve as your constant companion and trusty factotum. Your professor, teacher, secretary, guru, confessor, the two of you will remain virtually inseparable. The smartphone is unique in the annals of personal technology. We keep the gadget within reach more or less around the clock, and checking messages and heeding alerts scores of times a day. The smartphone has started to become a repository of the self, recording and dispensing the words, images, and sounds that define what we think, what we experience, and who we are. We love our phones for good reasons. It's hard to imagine another device that offers so many useful functions in such a handy form, but while our phones offer convenience and diversion, they also breed anxiety. Their extraordinary usefulness carries an unprecedented hold over our attention and vast influence over our thinking and behavior. So what happens to our minds when we allow a single device such dominion over our perception and cognition? Scientists have been researching the answer to this question, and the results that they're finding are both fascinating and troubling. As the brain grows dependent on the smartphone, the research suggests that the intellect starts to weaken. Adrian Ward, a cognitive psychologist and marketing professor at the University of Texas in Austin, has been studying the way that smartphones and the internet affect our intellect for the past decade. In his own work and research, he has seen mounting evidence that using a smartphone or even hearing one ring or vibrate can produce a welter of distractions, making it harder to concentrate on a difficult problem or job. The division of attention impedes reasoning and performance as well. A 2015 Journal of Experimental Psychology study involving 166 subjects found that when subjects heard their phones beep or buzz while they're in the middle of a task, their focus would waver, their work would get sloppier, whether they actually checked their phones or not. Another 2015 study, which involved 41 iPhone users, showed that when people heard their phones ring but were unable to answer it, their blood pressure would spike, their pulse quicken, and their problem-solving skills started to decline. The earlier research didn't explain whether and how smartphones differ from the other sources of technology that crowd our lives. Dr. Ward suspected that our attachment to our phones has grown so intense that their mere presence might diminish our intelligence. 2 years ago, he and 3 colleagues launched an experiment to test his hunch. The researchers recruited 520 undergraduate students at the University of California, San Diego, and gave them 2 standard tests of intellectual acuity. The first measured total available cognitive capacity, which is an individual's ability to focus on a particular task without their concentration breaking. And the second measured fluid intelligence, which is an individual's ability to solve an unknown and difficult problem. The only variable in the study was the location of the subject's smartphones. Some of the students were instructed to leave their phones in the corner of their desk. Another group of students were instructed to leave it in their purses or handbags, and the last group were instructed to leave it in a completely different room altogether. The results were striking. In both tests, the subjects whose phones were in view posted the worst scores, while those who left their phones in a completely different room scored the best. And the students who left their phones in their pockets or purses, handbags came in the middle. As their phones' proximities increased, brain power decreased. In subsequent interviews, nearly all the participants said that their iPhones hadn't been a distraction while they were taking the test. They remained oblivious as the iPhone broke their concentration and focus. Dr. Ward and his colleagues concluded that the integration of smartphones into daily life has left behind a brain drain that can diminish vital mental skills such as problem solving, abstract thought, creativity, and logical reasoning. The irony of the smartphone is that the qualities we find most appealing, its constant connection to the internet, multiplicity of apps, portability, responsiveness, are the very ones giving it such sway over our minds. phone makers like Apple, Samsung, and Google design their products to occupy our attention and throughout every one of our waking hours. And we thank them by buying millions of iPhones every year and downloading billions of their mobile applications. As strange as it might seem, people's knowledge and understanding may actually dwindle as gadgets grant them easier access to online stores. In another study conducted by Columbia University psychologist Betsy Sparrow, a group of volunteers read 40 brief factual statements and were instructed to type them into a computer. Half the volunteers were instructed, or they were explained, that their statements would be immediately erased, and the other half were told that they would be stored on the computer server. Afterwards, the researchers asked the subjects to write down as many of the facts as they can remember. Those who believed the facts had been stored online demonstrated much weaker recall than those who assumed that the facts wouldn't be stored. Anticipating that information would be readily available in digital format seemed to reduce the mental capacity required for them to remember it. The researchers dubbed this the Google effect and noted its broad implications.
I have to check the...
But you don't have to talk.
Because search engines are continually available to us, we may be in a state of not feeling we need to encode the information internally. When we need it, we'll just look it up. When we constrict our capacity for reasoning and recollection and transfer those skills into a gadget, we sacrifice the ability to turn information into knowledge. We get the data but lose the meaning. Upgrading our gadgets won't solve the issue. We need to give our minds more room to think. And that means putting more distance between us and our smartphones. Thank you.
All right. Great job.